All right, let's get Mr. Gavaskar into the show now. Mr. Gavaskar, thank you so much, sir, for joining us once again on NDTV. First up, 354 for 6 is what the Aussies finished at stumps on day one. After the kind of start that Australia got, do you think India has managed to pull things back enough to perhaps salvage this test?
They certainly have, because 6 wickets down, and if they can restrict the Australians to maybe 420 or thereabouts, certainly I think they will go in feeling that on this pitch, which is a very, very good pitch to bat on, that they will also be able to pile up enough runs.
Right, Mr. Gavaskar, you spoke to us yesterday about how important it is going to be for the Indian batsmen to fire in this entire series, not just a test on a good batting pitch in Adelaide, but in the entire series. Safe to say that their task is now cut out for them when they eventually come out to bat?
Yes, I think of course, when they are facing a total of 400 plus, the pressure will be there. The Australian skipper can keep attacking fields for at least the first 25-30 overs, unless India also get off to the kind of flying start that the Australians were provided by David Warner. So India will have to bat well, but I think if they had seen the way the application was shown by Michael Clarke and David Warner, as you said, it was an emotional moment for both these guys because of what had happened to their mate Philip Hughes. And I think that's what India need to do, because this pitch is a very, very good pitch to bat on. Aaron and Ishan Sharma, they tried their best. Shami, they were all bowling at about 140 kilometers or above that, but there wasn't much bounce in the pitch, so that augurs well for the Indian batsmen.
Right, Mr. Gavaskar, what's your take on the playing 11 that Virat Kohli has chosen to go in with?
But generally what happens is, because the Indian batting really has been the problem, Indian think tank generally look to go in with 6 batsmen, because that way they feel that they are well covered in the batting, and they are hoping therefore that these 6 batsmen will score enough runs to keep them in the game. Unfortunately, what happens is, particularly in Australia, where the weather can be really hot, and Adelaide was very, very hot today, then the bowlers can get a bit tired. And if you have an attack comprising mainly of seam bowlers who come in from a long run-up, then that is putting a lot of pressure on them. Unfortunately, India doesn't have a quality all-rounder, and if they had a quality all-rounder, then they could go in with 5 batsmen and an all-rounder who could bowl a bit as well. So unfortunately, an all-rounder who could, a batsman who could bowl a bit as well. That really hasn't happened, and that's why India struggles.
Right, now, since we're talking about the playing 11 that's been picked for this particular test, Mr. Gavaskar, what's your take on the inclusion of Karn Sharma? He made his debut, his test debut, and that did raise quite a few eyebrows.
I think it was a bold move, because he's an unknown quantity as far as the Australians are concerned. And I think it was typical of Virat to try and throw the Aussies off by confronting them with a bowler who they hadn't faced before. Unfortunately for Karn Sharma, his energy was very good. I liked the way he kept going. He kept his head up. David Warner took to him initially. Michael Clarke used both these batsmen used their feet to him. But unfortunately for him, there's nothing in this pitch at the moment. It's a first day pitch. Obviously, there won't be that much turn. But maybe by day 3 and day 4, he will be able to get the ball to turn. But I liked the way he kept his head, kept his body language good.
What about Varun Aaron, Mr. Gavaskar? We were talking about how he could be the potential trump card for the Indians because of his raw pace, and you mentioned also that beautiful outswing that Varun Aaron has. Were you happy or not very happy really to see the way he bowled today? Because overall he finished with 2 wickets, but he was a bit wavered, and also there was that slight injury scare in between that 1 over that he bowled as well.
But when you strive for speed, you can lose a little bit of control. And unfortunately, again, for him, he was bowling to 2 left-handers at the start, so that outswing was negated to a great extent. And I just thought that maybe India continued with the round-the-wicket tactic just a little too long. Maybe they should have come over the wicket, because over the wicket is the natural style for the bowlers. When you're bowling round the wicket, you're conscious of your follow through, that you should veer away, that you should not run onto the danger area. So you cut down on your speed, and your angle is different, because when you come in, your shoulder, the way it's pointing towards the batsman when you're bowling over the wicket and when you're bowling round the wicket, are completely different. So I think they should have started initially bowling over the wicket, get their natural rhythm, and then move to round the wicket. But quite clearly, it was a tactic that the Indians had thought about to confront Warner and Rogers. It didn't quite come off, but I still believe that now with the second new ball due and more right-handers to come into bat, India should be able to wrap up the tail pretty quick.
Right, one bowler who did rather well for India was Karn Sharma in that fast bowling department, 1 for 56 in the 20 overs that he bowled. Of course, it's unrealistic to expect him to, serve the entire team's cause single-handedly, but you would be happy with what you saw from Lambu today.
Yes, he bowled well. I think he's the experienced guy, and so therefore, he bowled well within himself. He wasn't going flat out. Quickly realized that there was not much in the pitch. Also, the weather was very hot. It was clear blue skies, so there was no help from the atmosphere as well. And therefore, he bowled within himself, but he bowled a good line, good length, and he got that wicket of Chris Rogers. And of course, in cricket, what happens is you can go past the outside edge. You need sometimes luck going your way. He didn't quite have the luck going his way.
One final question on day one of the Adelaide Test, Mr. Gavaskar, from the Indian perspective, from the Indian context, how crucial is that first hour of play or so going to be on day two?
Very crucial, because they need to restrict Australia to, as I said, about 410, 420. If they can do it for less than that, even better. But they mustn't allow the lower order batsmen to get too many runs, because if Australia get over 450 or close to 500, then it becomes that much more difficult, because then the batsmen who would have had an overnight rest, they will be on the field for maybe about 2.5, 3 hours. They will also feel just a little bit tired, can be a little bit sluggish while batting. So yes, I think it's important that the new ball is utilized, second new ball is utilized to dismiss the Australians very, very quickly.
Welcome back. Now, did you know that Mr. Sunil Gavaskar is a very good badminton player, but he's also quite good with a tennis racket in his hand, and he showcased those skills along with a host of Bollywood stars in an IPTL match on Monday. Mr. Gavaskar, I have to ask you, between Akshay, Amir, Deepika and yourself, who played the best tennis yesterday?
That is not for me to judge. We hardly played tennis. We were just sort of trying to get the ball over the net. But, what an honor to be out there with Roger Federer, arguably the greatest player that the game has seen, and also Novak Djokovic, the world #1. Really fantastic. And with Pete Sampras, Boris Becker watching from the sidelines, what more could a tennis enthusiast like me could have asked for? That was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that.
It was, of course, a star-studded cast of tennis superstars out in full force, really, on the tennis court. I have to ask you one more question about this particular IPTL clash. It was really all fun and games, and there were a lot of smiles to begin with. But did you also notice that when Federer and Djokovic came out for their singles clash, the smiles were gone? Because these two are very, very highly motivated rivals on the ATP tour. Did you also notice that it was almost like a Grand Slam final was being played?
Absolutely. It was almost as if it was a deciding set of a major. The way they slugged it out, the way they went at it, the way they used the PowerPoint in a tactical way. They were all trying to make sure that they won, because nobody likes to lose, even in an exhibition game, believe you me. And I think that's exactly what these two champions showed. They just slugged it out, and it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful for the crowd. And how fortunate we are, and Delhi in particular, at being able to get the opportunity to see these two legends in action. Fantastic stuff. Absolutely. Well done, Mahesh Bhupati.
Right, Mr. Gavaskar, thanks so much for being with us this evening.